neighbors. We're about to go for a joyride. Dennis Hopper, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, I do like blue movies. Okay, we are actually about to go for a joyride. This is a bit of a break from the program because tonight's session does not actually contain an A movie and a B movie. It contains two A movies. Even though the second one is a lot shorter, it is absolutely two A movies, both from Paramount Pictures. And the reason I'm breaking with the format is because I wanted to pay homage, if you will, to a couple of great Seattleites who were savvy enough to create this brand new series of crime fiction novels starring Edith Head, who is the greatest costume designer in the history of Hollywood, and also did the wardrobes for both of the movies you are about to see tonight. So it is my great pleasure. You have no idea how great this pleasure is to introduce my very dear friends, Vince and Rosemarie Keenan. In your moment of glory, I like to point out that I am so indirectly involved in the creation of this book. But of course, I'd love for you to point out to the audience how that happens to be. But just tell us why Edith is worthy of this tribute and why she is so incredibly special.
Well, Edith is so special because she had a really long career in Hollywood. And as we've been telling folks, there's no secrets in a dressing room. In a dressing room, you're there, you're in your skivvies, you surrender all your fears. Edith knew everybody's measurements up, down, sideways, and around. And she was a consummate politician. She had a long career because she knew what was going on behind the scenes. And so who better to be a detective?
Exactly. We're talking about a career that actually spans 7 decades. Starting in 1924 up to her last movie, Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid. A Noir favorite, if I'm not mistaken, in 1981. The movie's dedicated to her,
in fact, it is. In fact, I introduced Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid at the Turner Classic Movies Festival in Hollywood, and Carl Reiner, who was the director of that film, said we had to dedicate the movie to her because she was designing new costumes for Steve Martin and Rachel Ward to match the costumes that she designed for Burt Lancaster and Barbara Stanwyck and all the clips that they were interspersing. Amazing.
And Edith Head, nominated for 35 Academy Awards across the course of this career, won 8 Oscars, the most of any woman so far.
But what was the genesis of deciding that she should be? Well, what was the genesis of deciding that she should be, like I like to say it, like the Nero Wolfe of Hollywood? Which I love that image because if you've read Rex Stout, you know that Nero Wolfe is like 360 pounds, never leaves his house, and here's Edith, who's like this big,
A very petite woman, but yes. Really, you are responsible for this in more ways than you can possibly know.
Well, because we got the whole idea for the book, well, first off, let me say, how many people in the audience tonight are here at least a little bit to see the clothes on the screen, right? Yeah, that's a fair
know what brings you out here.
Yeah, and that was always the case for me, too. I mean, I love the movies, but I love looking at the clothes. So I decided it was time to have an article about fashion in Noir in the Noir City magazine. So I started to...
Which you should all be getting, by the way.
Yeah, you should all be subscribed.
Contribute to the Film Noir Foundation and it will come right to your inbox.
So I did start to do research on an article about noir fashion. Came across Edith Head and something just clicked.
And it turned into this. A simple article turns into an entire series of novels, but that's just how we roll.
And about Edith being Nero Wolfe.
Yes, and if you know anything about Nero Wolfe, she needs an Archie Goodwin, so she has a young, nice Irish Catholic girl from her old stomping grounds in Queens, New York, Lillian Frost, who goes out to Hollywood to become an actress, has one screen test, realizes she's the worst actress in the history of the motion picture business, and settles down to what she thinks is going to be an ordinary life in Los Angeles. But a murder brings her into Edith Head's orbit, and then Barbara Stanwyck's orbit, Bob Hope, Preston Sturgis, whose movie Unfaithfully Yours we have shown here at this festival. She meets all the greats in Hollywood at Paramount Pictures.
I will now endorse the book. Because I read the book, and honestly, I hate Hollywood, like Romana Clay books, you know, where like, oh yeah, now Humphrey Bogart's on the next page and blah, blah, blah. But I love the book because it's so smart and savvy about Hollywood and also about crime fiction. And it never leans too heavily one way or the other. And it is really a delightful read, and these guys actually know their Hollywood history because they do the research, and a lot of what's in the book is actually based on fact, and it's just terrific. So Vince and Rose will be signing books at the intermission. Buy it. Don't be a chump. Buy the book. It's really, really good.
From our good friends at Finney Books.
Yes, yes. Stick around. We'll all read together. But I just want to say, and I know Rosemarie was so thrilled that, you know, we're showing Desert Fury, because this is Edith in all her glory, you know. And if you were here last night and you saw Dead Reckoning and you saw Elizabeth Scott, she was playing the role that Mary Astor played in The Maltese Falcon as Bridget O'Shaughnessy opposite Bogart, and now Liz Scott was doing it. And so tonight you get to see Elizabeth Scott playing Mary Astor's daughter in this movie, and if you believe that, oh my God, I mean, these women are like, Mary Astor would have had her at 14 years of age or something, but it's nuts. And this movie, something that I will always point out about this series, the book upon which this movie is based is called Desert Town by a woman named Ramona Stewart, who wrote this book when she was in college. Just said, I can write one of these, and she did it, and the movies bought it. And as I advertised last night, all the way back when I first saw this movie and wrote about it in Dark City, The Lost World of Film Noir, back then I said, this is like the gayest movie I have ever seen coming out of Hollywood in the 1940s. And at that point, I hadn't done a lot of research about the movie, and I was being kind of flip and shooting my mouth off and just saying, you know, and a lot of people think, oh, you're just reading that into it because this is today and you're projecting all that on the film. Well, now I've read Ramona Stewart's Desert Town and can attest to the fact that, yes, all that is in the novel that she wrote, but it was quite a challenge for the screenwriters, Robert Rossen and Buzz Bezarides, to actually get this on the screen so that they were being true to the novel, but they had to skirt the production code so that it wasn't totally obvious what was going on in this movie. But the relationship between John Hodiak and Wendell Corey in this movie is sort of not to be believed. And I think that, well, not to be believed at the time. And trust me, in middle America, they had no clue as to what was going on in this film. But I think that the filmmakers were having such a good time with this that they started ramping it up a little bit. And so some of this kind of spilled over into the other performances, and mother and daughter, I don't know, man. There's something going on there with Mary Astor and Liz Scott that's a little beyond mother-daughter, if you ask me. But this is the sole Technicolor noir that we're showing. And honestly, I hesitate to call this film a noir. But I confess, you know, as a guy who knows it, studies it, can talk about it endlessly, I stand guilty as charged that I will just call something noir in order to put it in front of an audience of 300 people, you know, so that you can see this amazingly weird movie from 1947 in all of its spectacular Technicolor glory. So I'm thrilled that Universal has this print. It's spectacular. We all want to see the lushness of it and see Edith's costumes in their glory. So fasten your seatbelts. Here comes Desert Fury. Thanks, Vince and Rosemarie Keenan.
for dying. A really applause to Edith Head.